Welcome to the New World Order Showcase Podcast. Your host, Jill Hart, the Coach's Alchemist. Couldn't be more excited to have you join us today. On this podcast, we celebrate the champions of change, the up-and-coming life, health and transformational coaches who are fearlessly stepping forward to make a difference in the world. Get ready for inspiring stories, practical tips, and powerful moments that will motivate you to make a positive change in your life and those around you. We're happy to have you join us on this incredible journey as we dive into the world of life, health, and transformational coaches who are lighting up the path towards a better tomorrow.
Hi, and welcome to the New World Order Showcase Podcast. Today, we are speaking with the Reverend Mary Martin, and I am so happy to get this opportunity to chat with her. She's a certified Crone, a retired pastor, an educator, an entrepreneur, and a human rights activist, as well as an author. She's written several books, and she's going to tell us about those along the way here. Her mission: a just and more compassionate world for everyone. And that is just like so right up our alley. Welcome, Reverend Mary. We're so glad to have you on the show. I just hear your story. Where'd you start? Why are you doing what you're doing? What inspired you?
Oh, I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to see you. You radiate energy. You radiate life. And I'll say right off the bat for everybody to hear, I love you.
Oh, I love you too. We know each other from another networking group, and we've had a lot of chances to work with each other. And the group inspires people to not just network, but to really help each other and to get involved and moving each other forward. It's a great system for cooperation. It's like you get ahead by helping others get ahead.
Did you say cooperation?
Yeah, cooperation.
I love it.
I love that. I love it too. It's all about not just getting ahead of somebody else, but helping them get ahead too. I think everybody can be winners. We're not competing with each other for limited resources. There's abundance everywhere, and everyone's unique and individual. And it just is like so great when everybody's like playing their part and helping the other person fit in. And I don't know, it just makes me happy. But we're here to talk about you. Tell us about you, Mary.
Well, you need to know that some of my friends refer to me as Irreverent Mary.
Love it.
I'm not about institutional stuff. I'm about freeing ourselves from institutional stuff to be all we can be. I was called, I heard a voice say, I want you to prepare for ordination. In 1979, I knew no women in the ministry. I was not educated for the ministry. I thought I was hearing wrongly. And again, I heard very softly, I'm calling you to prepare for ordination. I didn't know what to do with that. I was confused. The next voice I heard inside was talk to Keith. Keith Alford was my pastor at that time in Whitby, Ontario, Canada. I called and he invited me to the home he shared with his family, and he and his spouse were there to greet me. We sat in their living room And they wanted to know what was happening. And I said, very upset. I heard that I am to prepare for ordination. And Donna, the spouse, laughed first, and then he laughed. And they were hearty laughter, and I was upset. And then Donna said, "Oh, Mary, I'm sorry. We're not laughing at you. It's just that you're the third one this week." And both the other two were men. One was a former Roman Catholic priest who married a former Roman Catholic nun, and they had 2 children. And the other was a hippie who was non-institutional. And the 3 of us came in screaming and kicking. And we were also new to that church as well. So that gave me the confidence to know that this was okay. And no matter what happened, it would be okay. And that's how I handled the situation of being unwelcome in a male-dominated, white male-dominated religious structure. And it was grueling. I did complete a 4-year Bachelor of Theology degree for a woman, working towards the ordained ministry. All of my male compatriots, they were all placed in churches, but I was not.
There's no place for women in churches in leadership like that. You can preach to women, but not to men.
Well, I beg to differ. My whole career, all through my educational process. From there, I went to 3-year seminary that I learned to call it the seminary. Because I learned that there is a such thing as semen worship, sperm worship. I didn't understand it, but my 7 years of higher education taught me, and no one else could ever say to me, "You don't know what you're talking about," or pat me on the head saying, no, child, girl, you just don't understand. Just do what you're told, sit down and be quiet. And there were passages that I learned about that I would raise my lone hand to discuss, because we're going to get into this. We're not just going to accept blindly what you tell us to believe, which is what was happening.
It happens a lot.
And
I've been in, through, and out of Christianity.
Yes, and it's not just Christianity, it's any male-dominated institution. That's the way it is. So I can say that I have learned, no one can take what I've learned away from me. I have seen, I have heard, I have experienced. And that is why I was called to prepare for the ministry, for ordination, so that I could speak boldly, and which is what I've done. And in 1984, I was still involved in the church, the institutional church. I started a business. I started to speak to people because they invited me to come speak. And this was Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan. No women of color except those on the reservations who we didn't see because they're hidden. So I was an oddity. People were curious, and I had a big mouth. I have a very quiet demeanor, but what I say is powerful. A small figure, but mighty. And people would invite me, I think because they were curious, some of them, and I would speak and tell them things that were different from what they were taught. And someone said to me, well, 2 people actually, different occasions, said, "Are you getting paid for speaking?" And I said, "Yes." I said, "Well, do you have a license?" I said, "No, are you incorporated or something?" And I said, "What is that?" And then I learned that I needed to go through a process, which I did. And the name that came to me was Catch the Vision Now. And I believe that we all have responsibility. Everything's out there. We have responsibility to catch it. And then once we catch it, we share it.
So beautiful. And it really does work that way. I was thinking about that this morning while I was walking with my husband. We walk every morning. And it was just like, people get so caught up in, I need to find a way to make money, that they forget that if you just catch your vision, like you're talking about, and you step into it, the money part works itself out, but you're really helping. You're doing what you were sent here to do. And that is what energizes you to keep going.
I agree. And I'm probably, well, I am altruistic. So it's not a matter of money. The money comes. My focus is global, and my focus is love. And I have always said to people since I was a child, I'm going places. You can come too. Come on. Freely, without any notion of dollars, of money, denare, whatever the word people use. And it is it's something that is used. But love is an action word.
Mhm. It is definitely an action word. And you can say I love you to somebody, but unless they are actually loving you, it's a verb. And that it's not a noun. It's not going to just sit there and do nothing. It's got to have action behind it.
Indeed. And my energy level, by the way, I'm 73. And I always say to people, I'm just not called to be the little old lady sitting in the corner.
We were talking before we started recording about being a crone, because you're a certified crone, but pretty much anybody past menopause is a crone, and how life really starts when you step into being who you are, and you've left your childbearing years behind. And it's not that children aren't amazing and a wonderful experience, but there's a part of life when you get older that is just like, it's wide open. And right now, more than any other time in the last probably 100 years that I know of, women are just, they're getting older, but they're not slowing down. They're like speeding up and stepping into the gifts that they've been given, and really capitalizing. And I use that not in the monetary term, but just catapulting the education that they've gathered, and the just life experience that we've all gained to reach this point in life. And we can share it with other people in a way that really just makes the whole world a better place, and not in competition with each other, but locking arms and all of us moving forward, trying to make the world full of love, because there's no reason love couldn't be the dominant emotion and way people interact with each other.
I agree. I learned when I was going through the process of introspection to become a certified crone, invited by my crone sisters. And I learned that the word crone has been misappropriated like so many other words. A man can have a crony, even old cronies, but they're friends. And that's a good thing, to be with your crones, your cronies. But women, the word is used to denigrate, and it simply came to mean a washed up old woman. That was what society, not women who told us, it was what those who are into sperm worship told us. And the word means crown. And when we understand who we are, we even do things like our back straightens up. You know, I see women who reminds me of teenagers, girls going through puberty, and they don't know what they're doing, but even before their breast, are forming, they start to notice somebody who interests them. And what do? They stand erect and they put their chest out. It's a normal thing. But when you're beaten down, you do the opposite. I have friends I grew up with, the girls who were taller than the boys at their age, walked around with their stooped shoulders, which was, I didn't understand it, but it was a reality. And once the boys they catch up, then I noticed these things when I was young, because I was always perceptive and intuitive, but I would notice, but I could never ask anybody, hey, how come you're standing differently when you used to stand this way? The same thing with us when we are more mature. And you're right, once we have done the things that bring life in, besides, and that's another issue, that God is man, that means God has penis, God made man in God's image with a penis, God breathed life, which means part of God is in the man with the penis, and God told the man that everything was his, and even made this helper for him. And I can imagine sitting around a fire in the ancient days, even though every culture has creation stories, but this one in particular, because of the printing press, got more exposure. And even though there are 2 creation stories in the collection of stories called the Bible, and some people made it holy, they said it was holy, but in that biblioteca, this library of stuff, these people, imagine sitting, as the story said, as my imagination says, and somebody says, how did we get here? Who are we? Why are we here? And we still have those questions today. So we know those questions are important. And I can imagine someone said, oh, I know. And all eyes turned to that one. And that one said, puffed up chest, well, this thing went into that hole and that one got fat and life dropped out. It sounds like something children would say when it's age appropriate, who tell parents, I know where babies come from, and you say where, and they tell you something that's really fanciful, and you don't call them stupid or evil or dumb. You know it's age appropriate, and you go on. We still act like we're still in that sense when we use words like seminal knowledge, like seminary, where women aren't supposed to learn to teach men. And the beginning of things, the foundation. That's why I say it's sperm worship. Simple as that. So because the ancients in that story saw this, there was no way they could understand that women were co-creators in the process. They didn't see it.
There are other creation stories where women are dominant.
Indeed. But the most popular one is the one that got the most press because of the European printing press and the power that, that was brought with colonialism and all that. So what we have left is male-dominated institutions that tell us who we are. So a crone, the person who is now finished with the process, is now free and can look forward to it. I encourage people to look forward to when they're premenopausal. Look forward to it, because another day's coming. You can get through it. You are going to get through it. We have support now. You're not on your own. And the girls who were invited to the croning ceremony, the people invited to the croning ceremony are women only and girls from 12 up, so they can have this to look forward to. My mother attended from another state. My mother was so touched because for the first time in her life, she heard her daughter introduced matrilineally.
Oh, I love that.
Yes. So we are sages. In some cultures still, people who are older are venerated. I live in Guatemala, and I used to be upset crossing the street when a man would come to me, or an older, younger woman than I would come to me and take my arm to lead me across the street, because I wasn't used to that.
That's really nice, though. I mean, to have somebody that you don't know care enough or express, and that's love in action.
Yes, indeed.
To a stranger.
Yes.
Whether you need the help or not, it's just somebody cared enough to touch you. And we don't touch each other very much anymore, but touch is an important thing in the world.
You're right.
The physical touch is a transfer of, my husband calls it the transfer of electrons. Come here, honey, I want to transfer some electrons. But in reality, it's true. Yes. Because we're not solid. Electrons do transfer, and it energizes us. And we catch a little bit of their energy, and they get a little bit of ours.
I like that. We catch it. I'm in a community right now. It's a big subdivision in Florida. It's a lot of concrete, even though there are a couple of expensive golf courses in this development. I walk a lot. I rarely see people walking. I see people who leave in the morning, they open their garage door, they're gone. And then during the day, they come home, garage door opens, and they go back into their compound.
So sad.
Yeah, so people don't touch. You can wave from your car, but that's not the same. And I do wave. And again, I live in a culture where people hug.
I live in a community where people hug. It's just like, it's a small community. You go to the local grocery store, you're going to run into somebody, you know, they may be working there, they may be just shopping there. And if you get out of your house, and we walk every day, and people know us because we're always walking and talking, and then they complain at us because we didn't wave at them in their car. It's like, we were talking.
It's nice to have that as an expectation that you would connect somehow, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. It's just really nice. And people want that. At least people around here, they're just like, they really have to be nice to each other because there aren't that many of us. And you'll know somebody that they know. And if you're not nice, that reputation will get around.
It's a nice way to wake up in the morning, to know that you have that to look forward to. Mm-hmm. Many people don't. And that's what we're in the business about, is to bring people together, to help people share. And it really doesn't cost anything.
No. Saying hello doesn't cost anything. Shaking somebody's hand or touching their arm and just caring a little bit, it's free. So you've written some books. Do you coach people, or what are you doing?
I say I facilitate positive change through my books, and through those, people invite me for speaking engagements. Okay. It's that simple.
So some of the books you've written are?
My first book, the title, It's Over. I've had it. Stop calling me girl. And that book is partly theological, partly autobiographical, and it's my years through the trek towards ordination. Out of that came the idea of a global Stop Calling Me Girl campaign. Not that everyone here is being called girl, but the mentality is there that you are lesser somehow, that you are not as mature, that you are not viable, that you are not to be listened to. And it's degrading. And every institution that is male dominated exudes that attitude. And I know that there are some societies they say, oh no, not mine, not where I live. But I say, well, look at the leadership, and then you'll know. And I won't tell some of the extreme things in that book, but it's worth a read. My next book is simple, and all of my books are not long. I think I am concise. I don't need to use 500 pages when I can use 100. And again, that's not about the money. It's about the content, and the money comes.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be bigger to be better. The second one, lifestyle thoughts for the journey. As a young person, I often said things to people, and I didn't know that they would be surprised. They were simple things. But I remember one uncle came to visit our family from another state, and I was, I think, maybe 12 or 13. He always shared this story until the last time I saw him. Even when we were grown, he would still relate this. He said, Mary, when I asked you how you were doing at your age, how you doing? Your response was, I'm going through a complete metamorphosis. But all of my life, I would say things that would just pop out of my mouth. I decided for one time just to write down these things, and they're not profound, or they're normal things, and not things that I made up. They're just statements that help somebody during some time, usually just a sentence. And I compiled those and put them in a book. And I was taught that I wasn't to use the Bible as a diviner.
Way to make money.
A diviner. I was not to look at it in that way, like a crystal ball, or the divining rod that you use to find water. Somebody saw me doing that. I needed an answer to a question, so I just got the Bible.
Bible roulette.
Pardon?
Bible roulette.
Yes, but what it came out, I could use. And I was told, you can't use that. That's demonic. That's evil. I learned we can get information that we need from any source and every source if we're just open. So that was the reason I did that little book. Then the third book was released on my birthday, June 12th, just past June. And it's called The Seamstress, a Dystopian Tale. And in it, I encourage people to face their dogmas. They have to realize first that they have dogmas that are truly debilitating. I learned that I was supposed to hate money. I learned that in church because money is the root of all evil. I didn't want money. I mean, I pushed money away. I learned, of course, it's the love of money that is the root of all evil. So, but too many of people I know still operate in that way, that that men are the head and women are not. There's so many, even that we don't even think about. Even the makeup that we wear, we don't understand that the industry tells us what we should wear, how we should look. And for instance, the lips signify, and the scientists know that, the cosmetic industry knows that, but it's analogous to the labia. And the labia, when When puffed,
Mhm.
larger, it's aroused. Okay.
Mhm.
When red, it's aroused more. When wet, it's ready.
Mhm.
And then I don't tell people don't use those things. Just know what you're doing when you use them, because we're not taught. We're not taught how to have relationships that are long lasting for either. I teach that. So in the book, the dogmas, oh, and the lips, finish the lips. You know, as you get older, the definition goes. So what does the industry do? Sell us lip liner. But it's all a purpose that we have not been aware. So the dogmas, why do you wear the things that you wear? Why do you dress the way? You notice now we are more free to wear our hair the way we want to wear our hair. I was raised when I couldn't wear pants to school. I was raped when I was 17-year-old virgin. I remember thinking, if I had pants, even though I don't know why I was thinking that at that time, but I did. If I had pants on, I would have had maybe been able to get away faster. See, but we were stuck in the dogma.
I don't know anybody in our generation that has not had a rape experience. I know a lot of women, and I'm 63, and I don't know anyone who has not had an experience like that.
You know, in my age, Jill, we were told
I'm 60
by the police not
Yeah.
to resist.
Yeah. It was awful. There was just a period of time, it was about 20 years, where men were just crazy for the most part. Even men that were well respected. They just thought that if there was a woman around, it was, she
Dogma.
didn't have, yeah. Yeah.
I saw my granddaughter yell loudly or speak loudly to her 3-year-old who came out of the bedroom with no clothes. Oh, put some clothes on. You know, that's dogma. Trained. I'm a naturist, so I have a different opinion, and it's in my third book as well, dealing with those dogmas. Human sexuality, other dogma.
Yep.
The credit trap. And the book isn't even big. It doesn't have to be volumes. It's just very small, not even 200 pages, but it includes that and more. And from the perspective of a 90-year-old woman in her 90s who doesn't wear clothes. Because she doesn't need clothes, she doesn't want clothes. But she teaches sewing. She's a seamstress who teaches others to make clothing that are bright, colorful, and beautiful. So even though she chose a certain lifestyle, she helps others to live in the way that is best for them. And she speaks to them. And I won't give any more detail about how she speaks to them. But she's a world changer.
So can people find this book on your website?
Yes.
These books, it's more than one.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Catchthevisionnnow.com.
So, Reverend Mary, what's the one thing you want to leave the audience with today?
Jill, the one thing I would like to leave the audience with today is to know that you are a gift.
Well, that's so beautiful. And everybody is a gift. No matter what you think or what you've been told, you have something special because you have the spark of God inside of you. All of us do. We are all part of who He is, or it is, or she is, or
they are.
They are. I think it's just energy. Honestly, I think it's just energy, and it has no sex. It's everything, and it's nothing.
No
It
dogma.
exists. No dogma. I'm with you. 100%. Thank you so much for this conversation. It's been marvelous. I've really enjoyed it, Mary.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another empowering episode of the You World Order Showcase podcast. We hope you've enjoyed hearing from our incredible life, health, and transformational coaches who are making a profound impact on the world. Remember, change begins with you, and you have the power to transform your life and the lives of others. If you want to take that next step and unlock your true potential, visit thecoachesalchemist.com, where you can find the 3 ways we can help you for free to spin your talent into gold with clarity, a system, and a plan. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an inspiring episode. And if you enjoyed today's show, we'd greatly appreciate it if you could leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback means the world to us and helps us reach more people with our positive message. Stay connected with us on social media for updates, behind-the-scenes content, and upcoming guest announcements. You can find us on Facebook at the You World Order or simply visit thecoachesalchemist.com.